Good afternoon, everyone. Today is March 21st. This is a meeting of the Auburn Housing Authority. It is 3:21 Thursday at 1 p.m. And I guess we will start off. This is being recorded by Auburn Community Television. And if anybody else is recording, please let me know. Doesn't look like anybody is. And we have some members of the public here. Welcome. And so the first thing we do is the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. With faith, firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. And for those of you who are new here, that was the pledge from the Declaration of Independence. If you're wondering what it was, the extra piece. So first thing is public comments.
Yes, my name is Frank, and I'd like to give a big thanks to the board here, Laurie, and you guys for, I put in the transfer months ago. I know things don't happen overnight, but I lived up Packagug Hill. That's where my house was for 34 years. I lived up there, and when I get accepted here, I get accepted at Stoneville. So I put in a request for up there because I volunteer my time at the senior center. I do Meals on Wheels and other things up there. And I'm a member of Packagug Golf Course too. So it's hard for me because I walk back and forth every day. So I put in a thing and I finally got accepted up there. So thank you, Laurie, and you guys, Steve, you guys and Betty. And I'll be moving up there shortly. Like I said, I lived up there 34 years, so I am so happy. Wow. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Laurie.
And he's military.
Yep, thank you.
Anybody else?
Good job.
My name is Terry Moriarty, and
Can you guys come up here? We're just gonna go up there, we'll get you. That'll be fun, right there. Okay.
My name is Terry Moriarty. I live at Packagug Village, and I have two situations that I'd like to talk about. And I'm hoping this board can at some point discuss the things and get back to me with a resolution of some kind. There's a woman that walks her dog in the village. She does not live there. She carries a club. She came up to meet myself and my dog last week or the week before. I have one good leg. I'm with a crutch. And she comes right up to the dog, and my dog doesn't know hers. Therefore, he barks. Everybody in the village, their dogs have all sniffed each other. They're all good to go. But when strangers come in, it upsets the dogs that don't know the other ones. Well, she raised her club to my dog. And I said to her, do not raise that club at my dog. You have no business being in here. She said, well, this is public property and I can come in here anytime I want. I can go wherever I want. And I said, well, how would you like it if I walked my dog? Of course, he's only 10 pounds, but if I walked my dog in your front or backyard? She said, well, I am an Auburn resident. I am an Auburn taxpayer, and my property is private. Up at the village, we have to pay dog deposits. We have to pick up after our dogs. Last year, the year before, there was an incident with a couple of people, couple of residents with the dogs, and the dog barking too much. that time, conversations about having dogs came up, and Wendy asked about people that bring. She said there was a question of, can Brenda bring her dog to Mary's? Mary does not have a dog, therefore she does not have a dog deposit. She has no liability. I don't remember what the exact proper or the exact answer was to Brenda's question. I believe she was told that the claim of barking was found to be false. But then Wendy started questioning, well, what if somebody wants to bring their dog up to see their mother, you know, or the grandparents because she loves their animals? And Laurie, you said that that couldn't be, that didn't belong being there because you don't know if they're immunized, you don't know if they're licensed, and you talked about liability. But after I put in the complaint about this lady, 2 days later, she was out there walking again, and I was trying to take a picture to see if I could get a picture of that club that she carries. At the time, I wasn't sure if it was a club or a stick, but it's at least 3 inches around. I've got 2 people now that have said it's definitely a club. One thinks it's a billy club, which she should not be having. But the point is, she's walking to where we live with a weapon, and I got a phone call telling me to stay away from her because she called and complained that I was trying to take her picture.
She actually came in.
Yeah.
The woman came in and she was really upset. She said she carries a stick to protect her dog from bobcats, coyotes, because where she lives, there are animals. So that's why she's carrying the stick, to protect her dog in the event that an animal were to come after the dog.
But my dog is 10 pounds. My dog is 10 pounds and she does not live in there. I was in Packagug Village.
But we have a lot of people that walk through our developments that don't necessarily live there.
That's right.
And
They
she
don't
did
always
say that-
pick up after themselves.
And she did say that there weren't any issues with her as far as picking up after her dog. She just considers it to be a safe place for her to walk her dog.
But it's not, it doesn't seem safe to the rest of us that live there if our dog is going to bark because they know that dog doesn't belong in the village. And she lifts her stick, I'm telling you, they're calling it a club.
It's a bully club. It's a bully club, and I have a picture of it.
Maybe she should stay right on Packagug Street instead of coming into where.
The way she explained it to me was that she considered it to be a safe place for her to walk her dog. And the whole idea behind the stick was not to go after somebody else's dog, was if like a coyote or a bobcat were to come after the dog, she would want to be able to defend her dog.
But
That's how
Lori,
she explained it to me.
I think if we were walking around the village, the residents were walking around the village with a billy club or something near, because we do have woods surrounding us, and somebody complained, I'm sure you would have said, hey, knock it off. You have no business carrying a weapon. And I don't think she belongs there
She doesn't live there.
when she's carrying that.
Okay.
Couldn't we just explain that to her and just tell her, just stay on
There's a lot of people.
Packagug Street?
Mhm.
Don't go into the village because, you know,
There's a lot
if
of
you don't want somebody else's dog barking, they do have dogs.
All our dogs
They
are
have the right
small.
to have them.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I think
Interesting questions. Part of it is, I don't know if we can actually limit access
I know.
to the property legally. I mean, the fact that you don't like her, don't like the dog, don't like the club is separate from people free to walk down a public street.
Right.
And it's not a question whether it's public housing, it's still a public, relatively public street. There may not be a whole lot the board can do, except talk to this person one-on-one and say, maybe walk on a certain area away from other residents that are walking their dogs, and things like that, and try to resolve.
Well, she could stay on the street and she can go walking in the parking lot of the senior center.
So
But she came to complain on her own, so she thinks she's the victim as well,
right.
which is kind of an odd.
And that's how I approached her, as because she was crying. I don't even, we may know her name because she may have called prior to that, but I didn't even ask her name, but we don't have it posted. No,
Maybe we could, you can't post no dog walking because
right.
residents need to do dog walking.
Well, we could try to find out who she is and just ask her, do not bring that club or stick, whatever it is, on our property.
But she shouldn't be threatening your dog. I mean, that's.
She shouldn't have nobody's dog should be threatening
Right.
anybody's dog.
Right.
That's right.
I mean, that's the bottom line. I mean, if you can't control your dog, you don't belong on our property or anywhere else for that matter. But when you see dogs walking down the street, one dog is naturally going to start yipping at the other dog.
Yeah.
But the club thing is the issue, right?
That is the issue, because I can walk on Packagug Street and there'll be other dogs and Cooper will bark at that dog and I'll say, do you mind if they meet?
Yeah.
And sometimes they'll say, oh, no problem at all, and the two of them go nose to nose and all the barking is stopped. Other times, sometimes they'll say, no, I'd rather you didn't.
Have you seen her lately?
She was there yesterday.
Okay, so we'll try to figure out who she is and just let her know that we don't have a problem with you bringing your dog on the property. We do have a problem with the club that you're bringing on our property. Because her reasoning for having that is coyotes and bobcats. That's what she told me, why she carries it. Well, I don't know of any coyotes and bobcats that we have when she's walking, so maybe she can just not bring that on our property. Does that make sense? I mean, I can't tell her specifically that she can't come on the property because other people in the neighborhood do. We want to be part of the neighborhood.
I understand
But
that.
on the flip side, if the club is threatening people by having it, then maybe that's something we can address it that way.
What was her complaint again?
That she got yelled at for not coming on the property. But the way she explained it to me, it was because she was there, and she didn't say a club, she called it a stick. And that was the justification for having the stick. But we don't have those wild animals. I mean, maybe we do.
I think they're out during the day, are they?
I don't know. And that's why, but she was so upset to think that she couldn't come on the property. She didn't feel that she had done anything wrong. But she told me it was a stick, like this big.
It's about 18, 24 inches long, but it's a good 3 inches round.
But in any case, it sounds like you're well versed in dog. I don't own a dog. In dog etiquette of when two dogs are walking on the street and they run into each other. The adults usually can get along fine. You never know how the dogs are going to react. So for whatever reason, it sounds like your exchange didn't go quite as well as either of you would have liked. And I would suggest the next time you see her, maybe try to talk to her and have a normal conversation so that neither of you are separating and upset.
I don't know, I've already been told stay away from
Well,
her,
and
so
that's because we were just trying to,
Right. Well, you can avoid the problem, but you can also solve the problem. So, I mean, that's gonna be up to the two of you.
Now, it's
More
not the
than
dog
anything
per
we
se,
can do.
right? It's the club that you have the issue with. Because she said she has friends that live up there. Does she bring the dog in the buildings? No, that's the thing. Sounded like it was just a safe place for her to walk. But if she's making it other people feel unsafe, then we gotta revisit this. It's not fair. I mean, it's not fair to exclude her, but if she's bringing a weapon per se, which a club is a weapon on our property, that's a little different than carrying a stick. Because you see a lot of people when they walk, they carry a stick with them.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
One of my friends does, yeah.
A lot of people, and that's what I'm thinking. It's a stick, but I'm not thinking that she's gonna start whacking people's dogs with it. But if you feel that it's a threat, then that's a whole different, like Brenda's saying, it's a club. It's
From
not,
day one, she has said Billy
it's not a
Club.
stick. Then the way I heard it was not exactly what was going on. I just thought, well, okay, well, she was more concerned about the fact that she was being told that she didn't belong there and to get out.
Well, I did tell her that. I didn't swear at her. I didn't yell at her. I just said, you don't live here. You don't belong here. You wouldn't want us tracking through your yard with our animals.
And that's where the disconnect
Right.
happened. But I'm hearing stick, you just got a picture, it's a club. That's a different thing. And if she's bringing that onto our property, then maybe she shouldn't. I mean, tell her to keep going, whatever, but
She can carry mace.
to go at an animal with though,
No, it's legal to carry mace. It's not so, I don't know how legal it is to carry a billy club.
yeah.
A lot of people carry a stick.
A lot of people carry sticks, you see them walking,
Absolutely. But a stick is different.
but they're not necessarily even walking a dog. But we'll try to figure out who she is and just ask her.
Right. I think this is, we're all adults in the room. I think she's misinterpreting you, you're misinterpreting her. Everybody's sort of rating the worst thing instead of the best thing in each other. And I think we could probably clear the air if we knew who she was and could contact her. And
Or you know what? If you see her, ask her to call the office or stop by the office. We'll find out who she is and we'll just explain to her that a stick is not a club. It's threatening to the residents, right? Because it's not necessarily you. Brenda walks her dog all the time. I mean, Brenda could be in the same situation where Bailey starts,
Well, we didn't have a mace stick fight.
amazed. Yeah, okay.
what do people do with the dog pack with multiple dogs? I have no idea. You said you had 2 items. What was the other item?
I do. The other item is somebody's got to be able to help me out here. Congratulations to you, by the way. For over 4 years ago, I applied for and got approved for a first floor federal at PV. The office gave me the wrong application at first. I filled it out, I crossed out state, I wrote in federal, I turned it in, and it got accepted until about 6 months later when I talked to Lori and I said, is there anything coming up? And she said, what are you talking about? You didn't even apply for federal, you applied for state. I said, what are you talking about? Why would I apply for state when I'm living in state? It's federal that I wanted.
Initially, you wanted to transfer from state to federal. And that's where it went to the state and they said it's not a transfer. You would need to fill out a new application. And that's when you applied for federal.
I applied for federal 4 years
You're
ago.
on the federal waiting list.
But I've been given so many excuses on why I can't go back to federal. A lot of it was, oh, you have to be a veteran. Oh, veterans get preference. Oh, this and that, the next thing. However, when I moved in here, there, almost 14 years ago, I was offered one apartment, and I was told that I needed to take that particular one. You get your foot in the door, and then you get preference when you need to move around. So after I put in my application for federal first floor, I ended up having a knee surgery that I needed done, and I've already had back surgery that I've had to have done. So I cannot lift anything and bring them up a stair. I just can't carry things upstairs. So I called and said, I need a first floor. And there was one available in federal, but Betty said, there are none available. And she said, you can go to, I think it was 87, wherever Ron and Lori lived. You can go over there. And I said, oh my God, I'd really rather not be there. So she said, then you can go to 15, take that, and if you don't take it, you stay where you are. And since then, I've gotten all the excuses on why I can't get into federal, In talking to Evelyn in Boston at HUD, she said you don't have to be a veteran to get into federal. And then at the end of January this year, I had COVID for New Year's. The end of January, I was just kind of dragging, but walking my dog, and I ran into Laurie in back, and I said, this would be so much better if I could be back here. And she asked how I was feeling, because she knew I had COVID and all that business. And at the end of the conversation, she said, Terry, I don't ever see you getting back here. And there are people, residents, that have been offered federal back there without applying for federal. I had a cousin that was living in federal. She needed a first floor. That's the first floor that I thought was available at the time. But Linda was offered the first floor, and she said, no, I hate it in federal. They're a bunch of snobs. I don't want to be here. And she got transferred to state, and I missed out on that darn first floor. And since then, there's been, we have a lot of nice people up there, but we have some people that need help. And I got very insulted because she put a neighbor of mine who has many issues with drinking and smoking and falling down and crawling into her apartment. And it's just insulting. And to hear Laurie say, I don't ever see you going back there, that's just so profound and final. I was approved. What is the real issue with?
Terry, the approval that you're speaking about is the fact that we did receive the application. And technically, you're eligible, but that's just the initial approval letter. We're housing the veterans. And that's where the issue is. I mean, I can't discuss particular people, but if somebody is on a second floor and has a doctor's note saying that they're at fall risk, I don't want to leave them on the second floor if I have availability somewhere else.
I
Because why
understand
would I
that.
do that? The doctor's saying they can't be on the second floor. As soon as I could possibly move them to a first floor, I would make an administrative move to do that, to protect that person, to get them out from under the stairs.
I understand that.
That's the reality on that piece.
But the two people, that one person that lived in Federal on the second floor, plus her neighbor that lives on the first floor, they're not veterans.
But they're residents, they're already,
There's a lot of people back there that are not
If I understand
veterans.
this correctly, and I may not, are you saying that you were trying to go from state to federal? But once you get on the, I would assume, once you get on the federal list, you're back on the waiting list.
I
And it's not
understand
about
that.
just an opening, you actually have to be next on the list. Whereas if you're on
understand
the
that.
state side, if there's an opening, you can conceivably do an internal transfer. And I think it sounds like you're mixing the two up.
which she did. She was on the second floor. She had a doctor's note saying she needed a first floor. We had a first floor available. She didn't want one of them because of where it was located. She was, at the time we had two, she was offered another one, which we complied with what the doctor's note was saying. She can't do the stairs. She needs to be on the first floor. So we put her on the first floor in the state program. It was a transfer
Right.
for medical reasons.
You gotta think of the state and the federal as two different businesses.
And I understand
And
that,
so
but it's
the
been
fact that
4
there's a
years since I
first floor
applied.
Federal doesn't give you dibs on it, because it's just not, they don't talk to each other. So you can transfer within the state,
Which she did.
but you can't transfer across without going back to the, you're just in the queue.
Right, but I still applied over 4 years ago, and now Laurie is telling me she doesn't ever.
Because anytime a veteran comes in, they're gonna go ahead. And as far as anybody that's getting placed in the state right now, the state is determining who we house. They took control over that. We don't have any control of that other than to run a quarry. And if we find that the quarry isn't acceptable, then we can deny them. But they're determining that if we don't have enough minority housing, we have to house the minorities before we can house anybody else. The state took that over. That's our affirmative action goal that we just met. We hadn't even met that. So that's why certain people were housed based upon what the state determined we needed to house. So, other than if they have a bad references or quarry bad, we have to take who they're sending us. So we have no
But
control over
that's not, I
that.
don't care about the state. I care about the federal,
That's the point.
and
That's the point you.
I lived in Germany when my husband was in the army. I have sons that were in the service.
But you're missing the point, Terry. The federal, you're in the state program. Somebody told you 14 years ago that the system works a certain way. Well, they may not have told you the whole truth or all of the details. But the fact of the matter is you're in the state program, and, excuse me, transferring to the first floor in the state program is going to be greased lightning compared to getting onto the first floor in the federal program, because in the federal program, you're going to be at the end of the list. In the state program, you're already in the building, and it's just a question of taking an apartment that opens.
I understand all of that.
But are you here to ask why you can't get a first floor in the state? Or are you asking why you can't get to the federal side,
I'm saying I've been on that list for over 4 years,
the federal list?
federal list.
And anytime a veteran comes in, they go to the top of the list. Like Frank is getting moved because he's a veteran. And he's a transfer because he's going from Stoneville to Packagug. He went to the top of the list. because of his status as already being in the federal program, he put into transfer. So that's why and anybody that comes in, and that may be changing now too, because now we just had to submit our federal waiting list, which is the first time they've ever asked us for this. By the end of the month, we had to turn it in to the federal program, HUD. So chances are good changes are coming down the road where they're going to be asking us to house displaced people before we even hire house the veterans. It's going to get even tougher. Because why would they be asking us for our waiting list if it wasn't an issue? They wanted to know about displaced people. Well, we don't have a displaced people list in federal. So it looks like they're going to try to set us up more like the state and take control of the list.
They could just be auditing the state. It could be, I mean, there's going to be a million reasons why somebody asks a question. You shouldn't assume why they're asking
Yeah.
a question. But,
I'm not brand new here either.
yeah, but, you know.
But
things-
that's
like I
the
said, things are
reality.
always changing.
Everything is mobile right now because you've got all these people that need housing and they have no place to put them. So they're looking like, well, displaced. We don't have that housing in federal. We never have, the whole time I've been here. The preference was the veterans, to help the veterans. And the board voted to have that as a priority years ago. And that's why we house them. Auburn veterans first, then any veteran from anywhere. And then the state list was Auburn residents first, and then residents from anywhere. But now, with the way they took it over, you know, if you don't meet your minority affirmative action goals, then they go to the top of the list. So everything is changing. So that's why I said to you, I told you, you could have remarried the veteran. I did say it to you,
He would give me the information without having to remarry him,
but you
and
can't have been divorced.
but that you just said this board
Yep,
is the one that made up the rule to make it veterans preference.
that was years
So
ago. That
this
wasn't this
board could make up the rule that, yes, she was married to a veteran. She went and lived in Germany with him. His second wife, that never knew him when he was in the service, has passed away.
Are you on the first floor down?
Yes. Can't you find a veteran to marry?
Oh my God.
I mean, this is what it is.
Right.
No.
I understand what you're saying to me, Terry, but I mean, unless the feds change it, and I don't know what it's gonna be changed to. If we're gonna be housing,
So what is it? If a veteran, if they're considered a veteran, is if like
Frank,
Frank,
Rosie,
they actually served
or their
served.
wife, their spouse.
Or their
The
spouse.
spouse counts too, as long as they weren't divorced.
Right.
Like say your husband died and
Right.
the
My
wife,
husband died,
Mhm.
right,
You get survivor benefits.
then you get survivor benefits.
right.
But in her situation, it doesn't apply because she was divorced from the guy.
Oh,
That's why I said, you know, to
it
me,
cannot be, oh, I see.
you know, it's different than if he had died, then, but he's still alive.
So I have to go poison.
So he's taking his benefits. Right, that makes sense. It may not be fair, but it is the way it is.
But I mean, you know, we're never gonna make her happy because this just is,
Too bad.
Okay. I guess we're
Frank,
gonna-
you wanna marry Terry and she can come over with you? No. Oh, you're a straight veteran.
Next item is the minutes of February 20th. And if anybody has no comment
rolls?
on the minutes,
On everything, yes.
all right, I guess, well,
So what is this one for?
I need someone to make a motion to accept the minutes.
I make a motion to accept the minutes of February 20th.
And I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's unanimous. Of the
Okay, roll call vote, state your name. Who made a motion?
And who's Sharon Catino?
Yep.
Makes the motion.
And I second it. And who are you?
Who, mine?
Rose Turner. Okay. All those in favor?
All those in favor? Aye. It's unanimous of the present. Wendy and
Right.
Roberta are absent.
Okay. Who's neighbor's access?
What is that?
Okay, I'll show you. Access. It's in the packet.
Oh, yeah, yeah. All
Is
right.
that-
Next item, that's not,
No, that's not next.
check registers for February 2024. Ramsey Property Management, who are they?
Hang on, we didn't make a motion to discuss this.
We have to make a motion to discuss it. So, it's already on the agenda.
Okay, Ramsey Property Management is a landscaper that cleaned up the property at Packagug prior to the storm. We were having a big storm. We had we had a big mess up there, and they came in and they cleaned up the property prior to a storm.
And we talked about this earlier, but we might as well explain all the plumbing.
Plumbing, we had multiple bills that we paid to plumbers. Mazzone Plumbing did a lot of the work, but we had multiple issues with plumbing when we did the inspections. And that meant any leaks they found, any rusted pipes that they couldn't clean. Because if there's rust, there's water, there's usually an issue. So we hired a plumber to come in and to do the work.
You know, this was for the inspection for, not for all the properties, just for some.
This was for some, predominantly Packagug Village because we're getting inspected soon. So I didn't want us to have anything go unfixed that we knew was a problem. You know, to avoid any issues with whatever, it's like, let's just hire a plumber to come in, replace the faucet, replace the pipes under the faucet. Anything that appeared to be a problem, rather than kick the can down the road, we went in and corrected it with a licensed plumber. Okay? And that's why there's so many of them. And I did talk to Gary, the accountant, about it, and he said that it's better to have fixed it now because then we're not having a compounded problem. Items didn't go uncorrected. And this way, if the residents do find they're having a problem with their whatever, they need to call us and just let us know so we can get the stuff fixed in a timely manner. And that way, when it comes to being inspected, we should have fewer issues. And I did them all individually in the event that anybody were to question what we did. Here's the invoice. Here's the inspection. Here's the invoice. And we uploaded them into the system.
And how does that fit within the general budget?
Well, the general budget, because it's in the beginning of the year,
You can cover it.
we can cover.
Deal with it at the-
Right, we can cover it, and then if we find that we're having multiple issues down the road, then we would redo our budget. But this is the reason why we had to do the budget. Auburn water is very hard. I mean, right town residents know themselves how often they're replacing refrigerators, washing machines, anything that's water-based doesn't tend to last a whole lot, long time. And because we don't always get the most expensive faucet, we get like a cost-effective faucet. They may not last as long as somebody that's paying $1,000 when we're paying $300 with a plumber. So that's why there's so many, and in light of what happened with Worcester and all these other housing authorities, that they're saying the residents are complaining that the items aren't being fixed. I don't want us to be in that same situation going down the road.
Have you talked to any of the plumbers about doing water filters, even the small filters?
No, but that may be something down the road, but that isn't in our plan, our current plan for the state. That's something we could look at for federal, but right now, the state kind of decided what we were gonna spend the money on. And the board voted in October to approve it. So going down the road, we can ask the state if we're finding that we're having an issue, like we're having an issue now with the wipes again. We just had to have a clean out in the front of PV, and they were all jammed up. So instead of doing it yearly or semi-annually, we're gonna be doing it quarterly. We're gonna be doing it quarterly.
Why would anybody flush them down?
Sharon, I just don't know. I don't do it at home, I don't know.
That's a no-brainer.
I just,
Correct me if I'm wrong, everybody has their own water heater, correct?
No,
No, it's a building water heater?
see, that's the thing, everything is tied, the building's lines and everything is all tied in. So it's multiple units, so you can't even identify who the problem people are, because it's
Well,
all,
that's on the flushing side. I meant on the water coming in. The water heater is,
not
you
some,
have a central water heater as opposed to everybody have a.
and they may be multiple
Little-
water heaters to support the number of units.
Units, right,
But nobody had, the families have their own water heaters.
right. Ours.
The families do, but the elderly disabled do not. They share water heaters, that's why somebody, if they have use a lot of hot water, somebody else goes to take a shower. Well, it's gonna be cold, at least till it has a chance to.
I mean, we're kicking out a lot of money for plumbing, right? And you can get a water filter that does the house for like $100. It would take these guys about 10 minutes to put in. Now, staff would have to change the filters once a month, given the volume of water going.
Yeah,
The cotton do that?
You know, they're only like $12 filters, but it would take out a lot of the junk that's in the water.
so there's 90
It's
units,
destroying,
90 units up at Packagug.
yeah, but it's not one per thing. If you've got a central water line going to a central hot water heater, going to the individual things, you just put in one filter for those 6 apartments.
for each building.
And then $12 a month to change the filter, and you're all done.
I'm gonna ask.
And you would at least take off some of the scaling and, you know how that stuff that gets all over the.
Sure, what was the Covenant Engineering where they have salt block, this big thing,
Right,
and it's like this, my parents used to have
yeah.
that.
I mean, you can spend a lot of money on water
Oh,
filters.
yes.
Go to Starbucks and get a glass of water. It is like the best water in the world.
I don't drink.
But they've got like a $50,000 water filter in the back room.
Yeah.
It's like nothing like what we're taking off the tap, let me tell you.
No, but I'm gonna
But the
ask.
thing is, I have a house water filter that I put in, 25 years ago at least. Huge difference, huge
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah.
We have one, we don't use it because it made the water slimy.
Well,
Well, there's different kinds.
Yeah, we probably
But I've
have
never
like
had
the
a slimy
one.
version, but,
I know.
they have like, it's, GE, I think, makes it. It's just a charcoal filter nowadays. there is reverse osmosis things with tanks. And there's some really fancy stuff. But even just a basic system,
But you know what, we could try something in the federal program and see how it works, and if it works well, then we could, you know, push the matter with the state, but then at least we could say that we've tried this and we know it's working here,
right?
let's adjust our budget to
Because
include.
we know the water's tough,
Yep,
and we shouldn't just ignore it and keep replacing. Like, we should at least try to cut down the problem.
but you gotta have the money to do it,
Right.
and we could try it as a state program. I'm gonna talk to the plumbers and see.
I don't want those per filters,
Yeah.
so I can drink the water.
For drinking
Yes,
water.
yeah.
That's right at the faucet though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, this cold water, there's somewhere there's a cold water line that's feeding the whole building. And you just put it on that and
Right.
it'll give everything that's on the other end a shot at survival.
Okay, we can,
For sure, it's relatively short money.
well, in the long run, if you're replacing everything in the
Yeah.
free
Yeah.
world, I mean,
Yeah. If you get an extra 3 years or 4 years out of a water heater,
all right, we're gonna try it in the federal program first, because I have money that I can spend on that, okay? I'm not doing it today though, and it won't be tomorrow either.
the next time they show up, just have them put one in.
I will,
That's it.
let's
But
see
wherever
what
they
happens.
show up, if you're banging them, just have them add it on.
Okay,
It's my suggestion.
okay,
Anyway, I have no other questions about February 24, so I guess I would need a motion to accept.
and tell, and please state your name.
Sharon Catino,
Makes a motion to
I make a
accept.
motion to accept the check registers of February 24th.
And I, Rose Turner, second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And I guess that was for the revolving check register. 689-1, no action. Do we have to vote on this?
No. You just vote as one whole lump.
You mean all of them?
That's it here.
So, development. This was just.
The deposit.
These are just the
Yep.
deposits.
And that's the state,
And that's
the state
That's the
deposits,
state deposits.
and you have the federal deposits, nothing get deposited to the 689 other than the rent, and that doesn't show on here, okay?
So was that vote covering all of these then?
Mm-hmm. That's all how we always do it,
Okay.
it's a lump.
So language access plan.
Now, these plans, language access, fair housing, reasonable accommodation, are state required plans. They sent us the template. All we did was apply it to Auburn. And we can't change it, but we need to vote every year that you've seen it. That you've seen it.
It was thrilling me.
Okay? So that's a standard template that they sent us, because I certainly would never have written all that.
It's quite a bit.
Yep, it's a big deal.
Somebody worked out to write it.
And it's part of CHAMP. They get uploaded in the CHAMP system. So roll call vote on each one.
All right. So I need a motion on the language access plan, accepting.
Sharon Catino, make a motion to accept the language access.
I'll second, Rose Turner, I'll second motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we also have next the fair housing marketing plan.
Sharon Catino, make a motion to accept the fair housing marketing plan.
I, Rose Turner, second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous. Affirmative,
Reasonable accommodation.
we have affirmative action.
Oh, that's next, yeah, okay.
So,
The affirmative action plan is what we had just voted on, but it got pushed up to this so that it would be with the rest of them in Champ. They would all have the same date, so that going forward next year, they'll all be having the same date.
because we did this, oh yeah,
Right, this was something that was put together here, and if you look, put that, as of right now, we've met the affirmative action goal. Okay, so yes, we have this plan in place, and yes, we are complying with the plan,
this is state or federal?
state.
State.
It's part of CHAMP.
Oh, right. So I need a motion to accept the affirmative action policy.
Sharon Catino makes a motion to accept the affirmative action policy.
And I, Rose Turner, second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous. And now we have the affirmative reasonable accommodation and modification policy.
And that was another state template.
Right. I suppose I should have answered a question, but I'll ask you in a second. I don't have any questions on this.
And anybody can view them on CHAMP. They get uploaded into the system and they're part of a CHAMP website.
That's up in the state, right?
So I need a motion to approve the reasonable accommodation modification policy.
Sharon Catino makes a motion to approve the reasonable accommodation modification policy.
I, Rose Turner, second motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The language access plan, there was a lot of, let's go backwards. There's a lot of caveats in that about you do what you can do with whatever you can do, kind of a thing. But do you have a lot of language issues, generally?
No. And we actually don't. I mean, we have some people that speak Spanish, but we kind of make it work. They usually bring somebody that does speak English with them, or we make a recommendation. We sometimes get on the phone with a family member so that we're addressing and, so that we can help them fill out the application and so that they understand the process. But it's generally, they either bring somebody with them or we'll call somebody that they give us to call that will explain it, the process to them. Because what's the point if they don't understand?
Right. Okay. We're not gonna do hours of operation today. And I guess we have member items. Anybody have any member items?
Not me, not me.
And public comments are open again.
Yes, my name's Frankie. With all this talk about plumbers earlier, if my mind's correct, we had a thing hanging on our door. I believe it was this month. I'm almost positive it was this month. You guys should give yourself some credit. I believe you did work here too, Laurie, cleaning out the big drainage.
Yep.
And just for my own head, did it clean out the drainage? How did that work out here?
What's
I heard-
happening, we're having problem with the wipes here too.
Yeah, too? Okay.
There was a big baggage right behind us, big baggage. So we had to have United Drain to come in to clear it, and it was loaded with wipes.
Really?
And then they had trouble because it was still winter, they had trouble finding the clean out, but when they did finally find the clean out, it was, they just went through, opened the manhole cover, and there they are. And when they did Packagug this last time, they had a problem up there, and I'm like looking, and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. It's packed, thousands and thousands of wipes, like nothing you've ever seen in your life.
Have you sent out anything, papers or anything to each apartment? And
That's
say,
already happened, and it doesn't matter.
And that's the same that down at my end too, because it's all cleaned and manhole covers. You can tell they were lifted open.
Yep, they
So the
cleaned
same
everything.
down
for
at
it.
end. So,
Yep.
Do you notice a difference in the apartment itself?
What's that?
When you flush,
Do you notice things drain faster and they?
That's what I'm asking. On some of them, yes, some of the drains, but not the bathroom sink. That's isn't, but yeah, some of them I do notice. Yeah, yeah.
If only they touched the people.
Could it be, like, maybe ask them to rip them in half and use half at a time?
then
Like
you're
something to,
not
like,
gonna
you know,
down the drain.
go ahead, Betty.
Even though the package says flushable, it is not. I mean, there have been so many articles in magazines, in the newspaper, telling people, do not flush flushable things down the drains. They are not, they do not disintegrate. They just do what they've been doing, clogging it up.
And it's not just the wipes that they're finding, it's eyeglasses,
Yep.
it's dentures.
They find an iron.
No, not that I know of.
Oh, God.
It's like utensils, kitchen utensils.
Right.
It's like the strangest things end up down the drain. They break the garbage disposals because like the utensils end up in it. But it's not just that, it's like pencils, pens, scissors,
But they think everything is flushable, and it's
everything
not.
goes,
It's not.
everything just ends up, and it's like the garbage disposals break because of what ends up down it. But when they're clearing these drains, they're finding dentures, because you can see,
right, right.
eyeglasses.
How
Maybe we
many
could get down,
buildings
right?
at Packagug Village have garbage disposals? Because I'm totally against them.
Well, if they had a garbage disposal when they rented the place, then they still have to have a garbage disposal because that was there when they rented. If there wasn't one there, then we do not have to
They never
provide
had
one.
anybody put their hand down there? I mean, that's what sick people.
Oh, God.
Not that I know of.
No, but I mean, you know.
But we have no, if we rented the apartment as it had a disposal, then we still have to provide them with a disposal. If they didn't have a disposal, then that's like the buddy pulse, the same
I just
thing.
worry about the old people that have dementia. They don't know. I mean, they know.
But that's really up to the families. If they asked us to remove it,
Oh, okay.
then we could remove it. If the family gave us permission, if the resident gave us permission, said they didn't want it anymore,
Right.
then we certainly could go in and remove it. But if we rented it with it, then we're obligated
Is there a
to,
lot of them?
about half. They've removed a lot when people move out.
Okay, good.
When they move out, we do tend to take them out.
Yeah. No, I think that's good.
Yeah, because it's like, it wasn't there when they rented it, so it doesn't matter. And we're not gonna put one in.
It's scary. It's scary. I watched my mother put her hand down in hot oil. She was working, and her hand just shriveled all up. Well, what does she know? She was old, you know. And come on, that's what bothers me.
But it's up to the
But yeah,
resident or their family
or
to
I
just
can't
say.
be the resident because they have dementia. They can't talk to themselves. I mean, they can, but they don't really know what they're saying. Yeah. Scary.
Anything else?
That's all you have, Frank?
That's it. That was.